Hi, so today I'm going to be showing you how to throw a cylinder mug. So first step is to wedge your clay. You always want to wedge your clay before you throw on it. It gets all the air bubbles out and condenses it. So what you see me doing is I'm pushing down and forward on it. I then shape the bottom into a dome. I wet the bat and I slap it on there. I then create a little seal with my finger. I add water because I don't want it to catch on my hands, and I start the process of centering. To center, you want to cone up and down. To cone up and down, you're first going to place your elbow into your hip, and then you're going to apply both pressure away from you and towards you using both your hands. When you're coning up, you want to kind of squeeze the clay together, and it's just going to naturally go upwards. And then when you cone down, you're going to want to tilt the giant cone forwards, which then naturally kind of pushes it back into place down into the little cone centered puck. Once you do this 3 or 4 times, you should have a centered piece. And so after you have that, you're going to want to start opening it. So you take your index finger and your thumb and you start to push down in the middle of the clay. Once you think you have pushed down enough, you can then go in with a needle tool, which you can then measure the bottom thickness, which is very important for later when we're trimming. So what you can do is you take the needle tool and you hold your finger up to the needle tool, and then you press it down to the bottom, in the bottom of the clay, till it hits the bat, and then you slide your finger up to where the clay hits on the needle tool, and then you take it out, not moving your finger, and you can see how much thickness you have. So you see I pluck it in there, and then my finger shows me how much depth I have. So I'm going to go just a tiny bit deeper with opening it, but other than that it should be good. So you see there, that should be a good thickness. So you want about 1/4 of an inch thickness for your base, so you have enough room to make a foot later once it's leather hard. So once you have the right amount of thickness for your cylinder, you then want to start opening it a little bit, not too far because we still want to keep the narrow shape of the cylinder. Then what you want to do is wet it so it doesn't stick to your hands, and then you're going to start by going up. So what I like to do when going up is I like to have one hand on the outside and one hand on the inside, and I kind of like to have them offset so that it's pulling up instead of just compressing. And so I take it up, and I usually the goal is to go for about 3 pulls, but obviously I take a little more than that, and it's okay to take longer, but you just want to be careful because you don't want to stretch the clay too much and overwork it, because then it becomes unusable. So you can see right now I'm doing it in real time. I'm doing it very slow. You do not want to go up too fast because then it can cause very uneven walls, and we just don't want that. And so you see also at the end, I am taking my 2 fingers and I'm making sure the rim is just nice and good. So now you see I'm taking a rib, and this is just to help shape it and get the slip off the outside. So you see I'm holding it up to the side, and then now I'm just finishing it off with a finishing sponge. I'm fixing the rim, making it a rounded rim so it's easy to sip out of. And then I get a paper towel and I place it over the rim, and I do this because I don't want the rim to move, and it protects the shape once I take it off the bat. So you see I put some water down on the bat so it moves. I then turn the wheel slowly and wire off the cup. and then now you can see I'm trimming. So what I like to do is I like to tap center often. This is definitely a skill that takes some time, but if you go to my other video, there's a better way to trim for beginners. And so what you see is that once I've centered it, I start to go in and I shape the outside, and I do this by taking a flat edge and I just go down, making sure all the lumps and bumps are gone. I also flatten out the bottom, and then what I like to do, this is my technique for trimming cups and bowls, I like to make a little beveled edge on the side, an angled 45-degree angle almost, and then I like to go to make the foot, and so you can see I make that inner ring, and I want to leave about 1/4 of an inch for the actual rim, so that's where the actual clay is going to be touching the surface of the table. So you see I'm just going over and perfecting that, touching it up, just making it look up to how I want to. It's really a matter of how you want your cup to look, so you don't have to be particular about it, but oftentimes you see there's like specific rims, foots on cups that are like raised, and you can totally do that. I do that in my trimming of the bowl in my other video, but whatever floats your boat you can do. And then, so what you see here is now I am making the handle for the cup. I forgot to film the actual making of the cup, so I'm just doing a little sample here. So what you want to do is you want to take like almost a carrot shape. You then want to wrap your fingers around the top. When you're doing this, you also want to make sure your hands are always wet so that it glides softly and smoothly and doesn't tug on the clay and accidentally rip off your handle. And so what you want to do is you want a very consistent pull. You want it to go straight down, and you're going to want to keep consistent pressure between all your fingers that are touching the clay, which makes sure you get an even handle. It doesn't have to be super thin. You see there I took out a little bit that I messed up a little, which is perfectly fine. You might take 1 or 2 tries just to get one, which is totally fine. And so you just see I'm making it all even. You can see the one I'm making there is a little flat. That's just how I like my handles. And so I take it over to the table and I cut off a strip that is maybe 3 inches long about. And so then I take it and I flare out the edges. This just helps for when I attach it to the mug. It's easier to blend in. So then I just take this. I'm showing you should score and slip your mug first. It should be at the leather hard stage for your mug, so like right after you trim it. Then I add some slip. Then what you want to do is you want to attach the handle while the cup is sideways, so it's hanging down, and then you kind of want to just move the cup upwards as you move the handle in the shape that you want. You're just going to finagle it into the smoothness you want. You can smooth it out. It's definitely tricky, so if you mess up your first try, do not get mad at yourself. It's very hard. But yeah, there you have a handle. And then once the cup is fired, you can glaze it, and that's pretty much it.